we will start off first by talking about the i3 instrument and its correlation with Interreg, or how some projects have made the jump from one fund to the other. And firstly, it will be Kirill from EISMEA to give us an introduction on i3 instrument and to highlight the connections between the two funds. And then we're very happy to have here with us today Angela from Baltic Muppets, who has had the experience of both funds, and she will share her insights with us today. You will also have the opportunity to ask questions after their presentations, and then if necessary, after that, we'll go into a bit of a comfort break, 10-15 minutes, just to maybe fill up our coffee and tea mugs, and then come back for the second part of the meeting, where we will see the participation of a representative from DG Regio, who will give us some updates on the implementation of PO1 in Interreg, and also some overview of the process for the new financial period. And then it will be a bit of a looking back and looking forward on the thematic community. So we'll just go over what we've been doing for this year, and so that everybody is aligned and can find the information should they need to, and then give you an idea of what we're planning to do next year. But also, and what's most important for us, is to get some feedback from you, and also some maybe other suggestions. So you can start preparing them in your mind if you want to. So this meeting is being recorded, so if you're not interested in showing your face, you can turn your camera off, but please do turn it back on at the end, because we want to take a family picture of everybody, and for safekeeping. And I think that if there's no issues, we can move to our first presentation by Kirill Dimanopoulos from EISMEA. We have been working with EISMEA now for about 6 months as Interact, and we're very happy to have Kirill and some of his colleagues probably in the room today. There's a lot of points of contact between Interreg and the i3 instrument, and that's why you have Kirill here today. He's already been involved in our NCP network meeting in September. Then I took part in the annual forum and the working group for MAs in Brussels, and we're collaborating today, but also we expect to continue this collaboration over the coming years, I hope, right, Kirill? And please, Kirill, I give the floor to you so that you can introduce the instrument and the call that's currently open, and then we move forward. Thank you, Kirill.
Thank you, Valeria, and good morning, everyone. Yeah, of course. I mean, already in the name of i3 instrument, we have the word interregional, so we are somehow destined to have connections with Interreg already by the name. But of course, we have also several other points. And just as Valeria highlighted, I would like to underline also that recently we built up a very good relationship with Interact, and I think this is a very important and very valuable link of i3 instrument, and I think we can continue this collaboration also in the future programming periods, and I think it will be a fruitful cooperation both for us and for the Interact programs who we can really reach out through Interact. I made a presentation for you today. Basically, I hope you see it. Okay.
Yes, we can.
Great. And now, okay. So I would like to make you a kind of an insight on what i3 instrument is, our current call for proposals on the capacity building strand of the program, and a very few hints on the links let's say, at the regulatory framework between I3 and Interreg, because we have Angela here today with us who can show you afterwards our maybe best practical example of Baltic Muppets, how a project could be upscaled from Interreg to I3. So let's start with the brief overview of the I3 instrument. Here in this bubblegram, you can see where I3 instrument is placed. It is in the cohesion policy, and more precisely, it's within the European Regional Development Fund umbrella, together with Interreg. As you can see, compared to the total, let's say, financial value of the Interreg programs, we have 490 million euros for I3 instrument, which is maybe smaller compared to the overall Interreg framework. But if we compare it with the sole Interreg program allocations, then it's a little bit higher. Of course, it is higher because in the regional innovation investments instrument, so I3 instrument is basically about investments. So we are defined in Article 13 of the ERDF regulation. And our main goal is to promote co-investments between less developed regions, transition and more developed regions, in order to mobilize innovation actors among the priorities of smart specialization strategies. Because of course, I3 instrument promotes place-based innovation, and the most important policy instruments for place-based innovation are the smart specialization strategies. Now, I3 instrument, unlike or similarly to Interreg, is divided to 3 strands. So strand 1 and strand 2A are the so-called investment strands. Strand 1 is, let's say, the most hardcore investment strand of I3 instrument, because here we are looking for major innovation investment projects with a portfolio approach, while in Strand 2A we are supporting the development of value chains in less developed regions, and Strand 2B is the softest strand, and maybe this is the one which has the most similarities with the Interreg kind of activities, because it is about capacity building, but with a very important, let's say, outlook on building capacities in less developed regions to help them in the development of value chains or to participate in value chains. And there is also one very technical aim in Strand 2B, which is to have major project proposals as the outcome of Strand 2B projects to participate in Strand 1 on Strand 2A calls in the later stage. We also have a technical assistance and experimentation budget, just like Interreg programs have the technical assistance budgets. Here, of course, due to the different structure of the program implementation, we have a so-called I3 support facility, which is run by a consultancy, and it's acting somehow like Interact, but for the, let's say, for the stakeholders of I3 instrument, but it's a very valuable contribution to our work. As thematic areas, we have 3 let's say, horizontal thematic areas: digital transition, green transition, and smart manufacturing. So we don't have priorities and specific objectives like Interreg programs, but we have the 3 strands and the 3 horizontal thematic areas. Now, this slide shows really the essence of the I3 instrument, as the instrument is built up by, let's say, 2 building blocks. One building block is the capacity building, and the other building block is the investment. In capacity building, as you can see, we have keywords like learning and connection. And here we have the Cap2B strand of I3, the support facility, the community of practice, so all these networking elements, while the arrow goes from this way to the investment building block, where we have the keywords of demonstration, commercialization, and scale up, where we really look for investments between TRL 6 and TRL 9. So at the end of the investment project, we would like to see developed products which are ready to be marketed. So this is a great challenge. And of course, on this part of the, let's say, building block of the instrument, we have strand 1 and strand 2A, so the two investment strands of the instrument. Now, besides of this, let's say, characteristic of the i3 instrument on investments, we also have a very important element on the cohesion policy, and more concretely on supporting the closing of the territorial disparities. And how it is done in i3 instrument, it's with the support of less developed regions. Now, I don't know how well these two maps are displayed on your screens, because these are quite small ones, but I hope you will get the presentations afterwards. So on the left side, you can see the classification of the regions for the cohesion policy in the 2021-27 programming period. As you can see, the darker colored regions are the less developed regions, and on the right side you can see the distribution of the i3 grants so far. And as you can see, we could manage somehow, because there, the darker the color, the more participation we see. And as you can see, more or less we could cover the less developed regions. Of course, there are some loopholes, but still we have some time to generate projects also in these areas. As I told you, i3 instrument is not a top-down instrument, so we don't define exact themes and let's say exhaustive list of activities what projects can do, but it's more like a bottom-up approach. So whatever they can basically propose, but they have to fit in the three thematic areas. Here on this slide, you can see the most common or most often tackled topics by the projects in the three different strands. And you can see that we have a quite wide spectrum of topics and themes tackled by the project. So from agri-food through blue economy to circular economy, sustainability, green transition, biotech. So a very wide thematic let's say rainbow we can see in i3 instrument. Now a few words about our currently running call for proposals, which is from the strand 2B, so from the capacity building. And nevertheless, this is the last call for proposals for capacity building project. So this is the last opportunity for people who would like to develop capacity building projects in i3 instrument to submit their proposals to us. Now, again, a little bit of a repetition on how this whole system is working for i3 instruments. So as the funding source, we have the ERDF funds. As a core principle, we promote the guidance of the smart specialization strategies, since we are linked to place-based innovation. As a policy goal, i3 instrument is promoting a value chain approach. So we are looking for EU and regional value chains. As a mechanism, this is, I think, very similar to Interreg, because we are promoting the linking of regions based on shared or complementary capabilities and capacities. And for the stakeholders, maybe This is not always the case in Interreg programs, but I think also in most of the Interreg transnational cooperation programs, under the specific objective one, you are also requesting the quadruple helix partnerships. Now, let's see a little bit more in details what Strand 2B, so what capacity building is about in i3 instrument. And here, I think already you will see very much of similarities to Interreg kind of actions. So, of course, not the first one in this slide, because as I mentioned to you, we are looking for the strengthening of regional innovation ecosystems compared to the hardcore investment-ready projects of Strand 1 and Strand 2A. Our target regions are coming from least developed regions, transition regions, outermost regions with specific challenges. The identified weaknesses what these projects should let's say, tackle are institutional, administrative shortcomings, fragmented ecosystems, human capital constraints, limited interregional collaboration. So I think if I would open now randomly one of the, let's say, territorial analyses of whichever Interreg program, these kind of weaknesses or challenges to be tackled, I could find easily. So again, a very, let's say, clear point of liaison between Interreg and i3 instrument. Of course, as a consequence of these weaknesses, we see reduced capacities to tackle global challenges, and therefore, i3 instrument offers the solution through the CAP2B projects to strengthen these capacities and to have a more, let's say, strong presence of less developed regions in our future investment projects. Now, in this call for proposals, we have a general call objective and call-specific objectives. As I mentioned before, the general objective of the call is basically the same what is the objective of Strand 2B. So to enhance the capacities of less developed regions in order to be able to participate in value chains or to establish new value chains. In the specific objectives, we see the capacity improvement, the interregional cooperation, the innovation approaches, the policy recommendations for evidence-based policy interventions, and the added value. So these are the 6 keywords of the specific objectives. I will not go into details at this point, but as you can see here again, for example, the improvement of the public authorities' capacities, well, that's, I think, not so alien from Interreg programs either. The eligible activities, here I would like to highlight that, however, here you see 6 kind of activities. These are not, this is not an exhaustive list, but more an indicative. So they can come up also with some other kind of activities, but of course, the applicants have to really justify well that those activities are fit into the overall framework of CAP2B. Of course, institutional governance, policy alignment, investment portfolio identification, skills and talent development, ecosystem connection and innovation management are basic and very important parts of these projects and what we are looking for here. I can tell you that in my project portfolio, for example, I have a CAP2B project, which is led by the University of Porto, and it is about the application of AI and modern technologies in the furniture industry. And for example, they are making the connection of different furniture clusters from Spain to Bulgaria, and they are organizing twinning events and peer learning exchanging events to learn the different kind of technologies and products what they use. So under this capacity building strand, the activities are rather soft, but they always have this character of supporting directly those who are acting in the ecosystems and in the value chains. Okay, and who can benefit from the capacity building opportunities of the i3 instrument? Of course, the Quadruple Helix partnership, as I told you. Here we also have the public authorities who are not so strongly present in the investment trends of the i3 instrument. For example, I have also another project where the region of East Macedonia and Thrace is the lead partner. So here we see a more or a better dynamic between public and private bodies, because in overall i3 instrument is very much directed towards SMEs and companies. Now, this is maybe the heaviest slide I have, so I will not go and read it out word by word. But in the i3 instrument, in the call for proposals, we have also this expected results part. So we have concrete outputs, outcomes, and long-term impacts which are required from the projects to be done. Among the concrete outputs, you can see, let's say, the mandatory deliverables of projects like the dissemination and exploitation plan, which is maybe one of the most important kind of deliverables what the i3 instrument requests, not only from the CAP2B, but from all the projects. And as an outcome, so an immediate impact, we would like to see the increased capacities of less developed regions, and the capacity to design synergies and enhance SMEs capacities. So something very difficult to be measured, but very important to be seen in capacity building. And on the long run, of course, we would like to see an improved business climate and reinforced cooperation. So a better environment for investments in the less developed regions in order to close the innovation divide and make them grow. Now, as the last slide about the call for proposals, here are the basic, let's say, framework conditions of the currently running CAP2B call for proposals of the i3 instrument. So we have a 9.8 million euros as an available budget. The project size are between 500K and 1.5 million euros. This is also, let's say, not in stone, because they can request more or less than this amount, but they have to justify this very, very strongly in order to be approved. Just like in the case of the duration, which is between 18 and 24 months, with the possibility of an extension, again, if it is duly justified. The deadline for submitting the proposals is the 19th of March, and that's the end of, let's say, the end date of having a call for proposals under i3 instrument for capacity building strand in this programming period. Now, for the, let's say, technical part of the proposals, there is one mandatory document which is requested by the project. So everybody has to provide an endorsement letter from the member states or the regional competent body for the S3 policies. That's a challenge, I can tell you, to get these endorsement letters. But I don't know if somebody is here from Interreg Europe or any of you had experience with Interreg Europe. It's very similar to the letter of support what Interreg Europe asked in the previous programming periods. And we have also a limit of the application form, which cannot be more than 70 pages. I think that is something very reasonable. And now comes the last part of my presentation, which is the relationship between i3 and Interreg. It will be very short because usually I enrich this part with Baltic Muppets, but now today we have the coordinator to tell you even more from about this from the practical point of view. So I will just tell you really the framework of this linkage between i3 and Interreg. So Article 13 of the ERDF regulation establishes the i3 instrument, and in this article at point 7, the regulation says explicitly that i3 instruments should seek for synergy with other instruments, in particular with Strand Interreg C. Of course, this means that at the first stance, we have to look for synergies with Interreg Europe, Interact, and maybe Urbact. So all the interregional level Interreg programs, but this is not an let's say an exclusivity in this article. So we can also establish synergies with other Interreg programs, because as you will see, Baltic Muppets is coming from the Interreg Baltic Sea program, so from transnational cooperation, and also in other cases we see that mostly projects from the transnational cooperation scale are upgraded to i3 instrument projects. So what I would like to say is that already the regulation prescribes to i3 to look for synergies with Interreg, and however Interreg C is mentioned, we are open, and it is also possible to build up cooperation with other kind of Interreg programs as well. Now this slide was actually prepared by the Interreg Europe colleagues, but it's very appropriate and very detailed in order to show the linkages between Interreg Europe and i3 instrument. Of course, there is one small, let's say, not mistake, but something which is ignored by the Interreg Europe colleagues, is just what I said before. So our capacity building strength is very much let's say similar also to Interreg Europe's policy learning services or policy learning approaches. I will not go into the details. It is very punctual, this slide. What is important, I think, are the two arrows in the top and the bottom of this slide. As you can see, how from learning and connection we are going into investment. So the learning activities of Interreg Europe, how can they be manifested in, let's say, investments in i3? If we would like to, let's say, visualize this linkage, we can see these cyclical arrows. As you can see, in i3 instrument, we are making, let's say, and coordinating investments, and this could serve as a, let's say, as a feedback to the policy learning platforms of Interreg Europe, while Interreg Europe policy learning platforms can also feed the project ideas of i3 instrument to have better coordinated or better directed investments. So the last slide here, it's let's say last year i3 instrument ordered a study which was carried out by an external expert about the performance of the instrument. In that time, we had 27 approved and running projects. in I3 instrument. And this study also checked, let's say, the origin of these 27 projects. And as you can see, 7 of them was coming from Interreg, which is a quite important number. And I think, however, we don't have yet in our hands the statistics for this in this year. But I think this number even increased in the last call for proposals. And I think this could be also a good path for good quality Interreg projects on smart specialization and innovation and all these elements where Interreg has some difficulties to support investments in companies, maybe due to the obstacles on supporting SMEs and companies directly, and also due to the shortages of funds in Interreg. Their I3 instrument can step in. So your projects can see I3 instrument as a kind of pathway to realize their goals in the field of investments. And with this, I would like to thank you for your attention. I hope it was not too long and too information based. And of course, I will stay with you here. If you have any kind of questions, I'm ready to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kirill, as always, very, very clear. And I think it was interesting when you showed the points of contact between Interreg and I3 instrument, and also the differences. For sure. Today we have here also our colleague Guillermo, who runs the transnational program network. So we've been trying to create this connection as well here, and we have some representatives of transnational programs amongst the participants today. And also we have quite a lot of representatives of national contact points who also can transfer this information to programs and to stakeholders, which, you know, it's in everybody's interest that this initiative works. So we're here to collaborate on this. Before we move on to Baltic Muppets, I was going to ask if there's any really pressing questions from the participants for Kirill, or if we can wait a little bit longer. If anybody has some very urgent questions to ask, if they want to raise their hands. Otherwise, here we have Patricia. Welcome. Bonjour. Can you hear us, Patricia?
Yes. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Yes, I hear you.
Yes.
And I hope that you heard me too. Okay. Thank you very much. It was a clear presentation and very interesting. So I have some questions, not very urgent, but maybe to explain, to have more information about the I3 and the coordination with Interreg. Just let me introduce me. I am national contact point for Interreg Europe for the south of regions for France and outermost regions. So my first question will concerns the call for projects in process, and with a submission organized for March 2026. I would like to know how many partners are waiting in this kind of project, because you presented the amount and beneficiaries, but how many partners per one project, and which kind of partner, if it is a national authority. And we don't have in Interreg Europe the possibility to have a letter of support. Now is finished. So I understood that for this call for project is necessary to have a letter of support. Okay, if I understood well. And my second question will concern the synergies and coordination between programs. It's really important. With the aim of this synergy, what is concrete in terms of to demonstrate this synergy and coordination between the programs, the different programs? What is the concrete results to be waiting by the Commission? Thank you very much.
Kirill?
Thank you very much, Patricia, for the questions. Indeed, you are right. I forgot to mention that in this call for proposals for CAP2B, we have the lightest, let's say, request for the minimum composition of the consortium, because we need two legal entities from two different eligible countries of the program. And in I3, in general terms, we just define the minimum requirements of the consortium, and there is no maximum limits. So this is good and bad at the same time, because in investment projects, this could lead to enormously big partnerships. But I mean, this is the decision of DG Regio. As you can understand, DG Regio is responsible for the policy part of the instrument, and EISMA is, as an agency, is just making the technical implementation and the day-to-day management of the projects. The other question, and I'm so happy that you are also responsible for outermost regions, because outermost regions are super important for us, yet we have, I think, only Martinique in one of our projects. So, for example, that is something which could be benefiting for the I3 instrument if we can reach out to more outermost regions in our projects. To be very frank with you, basically we are now shaping this synergy, because the regulation is not telling us what is exactly expected under this synergy or complementarity. So we are trying to, to identify really what could be the mutual benefit for Interreg and I3 instrument. For I3 instrument, I could say that since we have this very strong principle on supporting less developed regions with interregional cooperation, we are profiting from the experience and knowledge of Interreg on this. So Interreg can, when a project is upscaled from Interreg to I3 instrument, they theoretically did already this analysis and soft work on identifying where the investment should go. So this is something very important for us to direct our investments to there where it is needed. And the other part is that in Interreg projects or in Interreg programs, you have, I don't know when Interreg started, in 1993 or something like that. So you have, I don't know, a lot of experience on how this collaboration can be materialized. But I3 instrument is new. So this is the first programming period when I3 instrument is there. So interregional cooperation we want, but basically we just see how this is materializing. But I hope that by having this, this kind of joint events of today, and also the NCP meeting in September, and when Valeria came to us in our events, these are the first steps. So we are really trying to find out how to do it, and the Angela and Baltic Muppets and the similar projects to Baltic Muppets are the already existing examples in the field, what we have to examine and see how to move forward. And I know that there is no anymore letter of support in Interreg Europe. I just mentioned that in the previous programming periods you had it, so now it's not there, but we still requesting this endorsement letter in CAP2B, which is according to my experience, it's very, very similar to what was the letter of support in Interreg Europe. I hope I answered all the questions. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Kirill. Yeah, Interreg is turned 35 this year, so we have a lot of, I think, accumulated experience in terms of interregional cooperation and cross-border and transnational cooperation. Patricia, I hope that answered your questions. There was another hand up by Anushka. I don't know if your question still stands, Anushka.
Well, actually, luckily, Kirill already answered, because I was going to ask about the size of the partnership. So basically, we are good there. Thanks.
Yeah, maybe I would just extend this, because in this CAP2B, we have this very minimum of two legal entities from 2 different eligible countries. In strand 1, we are looking for a minimum consortia composed by 5 legal entities from 5 different countries, and in strand 2A, it's 3 different legal entities from 3 different countries. So as you can see, as we are heading towards CAP2B, the minimum requirement is getting a little bit less and less. And nevertheless, I3 instrument has all the EU countries as eligible countries of the program and the outermost regions. But unfortunately, we don't have any of the IPA countries or Norway or UK or Switzerland as eligible countries, which is making a problem for sometimes for our applicants. And if anyone, based on the today presentations or having any inspiration from other sources of information from I3 instrument and coming from these countries, I would encourage you to promote this at your political levels, to approach DG Regio and make the association agreements with DG Regio in order to have these countries also eligible. Thanks.
Thank you, Kirill. So you talked about smart specialization, innovation, support to SME, and these are all specific objectives of policy objective 1. And that's why there's such a strong connection between the 2 programs, and especially this policy network. And I think we will see that even more through the presentation by Angela from the Baltic Muppets project, with long-standing experience in Interreg and now in I3 instrument. So Angela, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Valeria. And let's first try to share my screen. I hope this will work. Do you now all see my slides where you see from in? Okay, wonderful. Okay, welcome. I would like to stress I'm not the project manager of Baltic Muppets. This is Maja Miltel, who's already taking a bit of an extended Christmas holiday. I'm the managing director of the Submariner Network, which is the lead partner of Baltic Muppets. And I'm very happy to present to you, let's say, the journey from Interreg to I3. It's a little bit of a historic presentation, because Baltic Muppets itself is coming to an end in 2026. But I think since Submariner Network is also about to start the so-called EIT Water and is leading on the mission Ocean, I think it's more the principle I will present to you. So first of all, let's say, hold on, I just have to have my mouse. So a few words about the Submariner Network, which was founded as an institution in 2013 and had been running. And here, please listen, all those who are coming from Interreg. So, you know, once upon a time ago, from 2010 until 2013, the Submariner was a project in itself, an Interreg project from the Baltic Sea region. And we headed off in terms of looking into what are the innovative and sustainable uses of marine resources maritime spatial planners have to look out for in the Baltic Sea region. So those which are not yet in implementation, but which are sort of what we call very often in Horizon very high TLR level, and which are sort of sustainable. And we jointly then as a project prepared a compendium and then a roadmap and showed what should be done in order to sort of, realize these innovative and especially sustainable uses. And we were looking, normally you would sort of design a roadmap in such way that you are saying, okay, Helcom should do it, or, somebody should be responsible. But we actually also did an analysis on who may be the actors, and actually then the project partners really came to the conclusion that we have to found a new institution. We have to institutionalize Submariner Network in order to make it happen. And this is what happened. So we founded a European Economic Interest Grouping made up of institutions from across the Baltic Sea region, not only research institutions, but also authorities, regions, companies, etc. So a quadruple helix in itself, in order to make these things happening, and actually then also founding a secretariat with the basis in Berlin, of which I'm still the managing director. And here you see sort of the solutions we were looking for. I have to say, ever since 2013, this has always slightly evolved. But you see here, it's called here bivalve cultivation, processing and product. So mussel cultivation in the Baltic Sea region was from the very beginning one of the interesting sustainable blue bio solutions we were looking for. You see also others here now, algae and sustainable fisheries, sustainable fish aquaculture, ocean multi-use, and so on. And here you see sort of how the Submariner Network has evolved. For the Baltic Sea region, I cannot really see it from the names here, but what was sort of at that time also quite specific is that in the Baltic Sea region, there is not only the Interreg Baltic Sea region program, but that there is also still, by the way, running the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region. And the Submariner Network was in itself, or is also still, the blue flagship initiative under that Baltic Sea region strategy. And you can also see from that slide that by now, but that has then sort of happened at a later stage, that we are also acting as the coordinator in the lighthouse area of the Baltic and the North Sea region of the so-called EU mission Restore Our Oceans and Waters. Okay, and here you see that what we are doing as a Baltic Blue Bioeconomy Hub is actually to really sort of synthesize projects, sort of to bring them to another level, and actually also have services to companies. And what I think is very important, what you see here on this picture, is that there is really a roadmap behind. There's a very clear pathway on how we want to promote these uses. In the meantime, by now, the state of play, last year, January, we have implemented 54 projects, because we are using our membership fees in order to leverage and to go into projects, because not only Interreg, what is similar to Interreg as well as i3, is that these programs require co-funding, and of course you also have to sort of get this co-funding. So we actually, as a network, we also require membership fees in order to also realize this co-funding. And what you see here on the right-hand side is that we do not only have synergies between Interreg and then the pathway to i3, but we actually sort of create synergies between sort of the various EU funding programs, moving from the Horizons, the REARs, the innovation actions to the CSA. So, you know, those which have sort of lower so-called TLR level, etc., moving them up over the course, going into the policy area, which is more sort of then the Interreg, bringing it into the regions, and then actually also having very concrete investment pathways. And here you sort of see our clouds on how we operated in 2016 until 2021. And I think you also see here Baltic Blue Growth at a certain stage, so that we are really sort of combining. And here you see sort of our cloud for projects from 2022 until now, our current pathways. And what you also see here is that what is, of course, interesting for us, because we really want to bring innovation into the water, to have sort of that we are looking for the instruments where we really have demonstrators, where we can do something in the water. So therefore, meaning investments, so the i3. Okay, and here, what is very specific, in order to explain the pathway from Baltic Blue Growth, an Interreg project, which was also then done with the support of the Submariner Network, towards the pathway of Baltic Muppets, is that, you know, yes, we want to get pilots to the next level, we want to increase company involvement, we want to work on the blue on land, but that we are also continuously running working groups where we get project partners. So we first sort of bring partners into projects, but then we are actually also taking them again out of the project bubbles and sort of, you know, seek for synergies with those which are also working on sort of specific topics. And I have earmarked here now in red the mussels topic, that we actually sort of continuously are sort of having working groups where we are sort of discussing, not only in the Baltic Sea region, but also across with, you know, other stakeholders on what are sort of the necessary steps to be taken in order to bring this topic really to fly. So let's move now to the story between Baltic Blue Growth and Baltic Muppet. So Baltic Blue Growth was also an Interreg project, which was running between 2016 and 2019, so quite a long time ago. And Submariner Network was one part. I want to stress, we were not the lead partner. We were one partner of this Baltic Blue Growth project, which was, of course, since it was a Baltic Sea region Interreg program, involving really partners from across the Baltic Sea region. And the specific idea was to advance mussel farming in the Baltic Sea region, because it's quite specific in the Baltic Sea region, as mussels here have to sort of grow in low salinity waters and are therefore very small, and at the same time have a very environmentally friendly function, because they can filter the water and therefore are a very interesting you know, use for the highly eutrophied waters in the Baltic Sea region, where almost mussel farming as well as also algae cultivation are the only ways of getting the nutrients which are already in the Baltic Sea region out of the water. Okay, but at the same time, the mussels are too small in order to sort of, you know, have them normally eaten if you're based in Belgium or whatever, so that they are not the normal mussels you would sort of have for human food. So you have to think about what you're doing with it. So this is what Baltic Blue Group was doing. It was working on sort of advancing this mussel farming from experimental to full scale. It had sort of policy documents. It really sort of had site-specific production manuals, and of course had really very good scientific and policy discussions on how can mussels sort of work as a tool to mitigate eutrophication. So, and what I would like to stress is there was an intermediate step then between Baltic Blue Growth and Baltic Muppet. So after the end of Baltic Blue Growth, actually the partners were saying, well, Angela, Submariner Network, can you not take this on board in order to sort of, what we call in Horizon exploit the results to make it really happening? Because we as individual partners, we don't have, we have enough to do, so we cannot sort of keep on going. And this is what we did. And this is, by the way, what we also did with the help of yet another Interreg project, which was called Interreg Blue Platform. It's the I don't know whether this is in all sea basins or all Interreg programs, but it was a specific instrument. It's still existing in Interreg Baltic Sea region, that there are so-called platform projects which are designed in order to exploit the results of several projects. And normally it said, okay, exploitation of Interreg projects, but also now it has opened up to sort of, bring projects together from different EU-funded projects. And here you see, so we created this mussel working group, of course, with members from Baltic Blue Growth, but also other projects. And you can here also see that these were not only EU-funded projects, but they were also coming from national funding, from the Swedish, from the Danish, from the Germans, etc., all of whom had in one way or another worked on how can we make this happening in terms of the mussel farming. And we kept on going, and we kept on going. There was not an I3 instrument. And we were actually jointly coming then to sort of this alignment, because mussel farming is a classical example for a so-called I3, because it's too small to sort of, it's so innovative that it's too small to really thrive in one country on its own. So we needed partners really across all Baltic Sea, I mean, not all, but I mean, several Baltic Sea region countries, and we needed several mussel farms, because actually in order to get a critical mass of mussels and a critical knowledge of mussels in order to bring it into the market, we needed really sort of several partners and also several partners across all Baltic Sea region countries. So we were discussing of what we really need. We had sort of a joint policy brief, etc., and said, well, we really need to sort of, have now investments. We need to actually also have joint infrastructure. We have to work on harvesters together, etc., etc. And luckily for us, the I3 instrument came around the corner. We were the first ones. We were the first project. We were in the first round, which were sort of, jumping on it, and the deadlines were very short. But because we had had this working group and this network for a long time, we actually sort of, also were able to sort of design this joint transnational project application within really 1 month, and we're then successful. So Baltic Muppets is really then the project where we had several mussel farmers, we had sort of technology providers, and we were looking into sort of really putting it into action to have sort of a product which has to be high value, because, these mussels from the Baltic Sea are relatively expensive, in order to complete the value chain for sort of creating pet food, not human food, but pet food out of these mussels. And why, by the way, pet food? Because pet food is a high value market. Those of you who have cats and dogs and so on, human beings are spending almost more money on pet food than their own food. So it was really sort of new. This, I think, has already been presented, but I think, you know, in light of the time, what are here sort of therefore the key differences? So I liked the slide where it was also showing, by the way, that it is a circle, because we are currently bringing the results from Baltic Muppets back into the policy process, because it's always a kind of circle moment. So what was in the point in Interreg is in Baltic Blue Growth. There we had the proof of concept. We could identify the gaps. We had sort of the background. We had the stakeholders together. Also then with the Blue platform, we had the instruments of running working groups to really think jointly of what is required. And then with Baltic Muppets, with the i3, you know, we had the opposite, that the 70% had to come from SMEs, which is sort of a no-go in Interreg, where you want to have authorities, etc. So here we had the opposite approach, but we could sort of really scale up, validate the business models, and work very concretely with the small and medium-sized enterprises and really go into exploitation. And I think this is also, therefore, also my last slide. Yeah, I can only say it was a positive journey, but I also very much like sort of the pathway back, that now when we have results, that we are sort of bringing it back to other policy processes, mission, Interreg, etc. Because we now sort of sometimes also need still really working with the regions in order to get the policy support to work with these innovative products. Thank you very much. And now I stop sharing my slides.
Thank you, Angela. So, thank you very much. It was very informative, and yeah, it was thrilling to see the journey that you've carried out as the Submariner Consortium and how it's evolved. And if I I think you gave us a lot of information, but if you had to give some sort of advice to any project, we have some projects in the room today, to any project who feels that they may have what it takes to take it to upscale to i3 instrument, any advice on how to survive?
Yeah, I think that it's always important. I mean, that's what I have shown, is to see it. I mean, it's very important to be very focused on the specific project, that's clear, but at the same time also to see it in a longer pathway, in a, you know, to have it in a framework, and ideally that your coordinator, I mean, that is sort of the precondition in i3, that you're using clusters, etc. Of course, I think that we are ideal because we are a transnational cluster, but that you are really sort of, you know, seeing this in a wider framework. And I think the challenge we also see still when we are working as coordinators is that also working with companies has its challenge, because they are quite, when it comes to investments and so on, even though they know they have to work in value chains and that they have to cooperate, etc., etc. Of course, as a company, you have this kind of inclination that, you know, it's your intellectual property, that it's your product, that you are not sharing, etc. And that is something we actually really continuously have to work on, to make it clear to the companies that they do not only see this very clear value chain, but they actually also will only be able to grow if they have almost a whole ecosystem around them to grow, and that it's good for them if, in my example, there is also another mussel farm as a result of it, you know, coming up, etc. So that is for sure a challenge if you move from a more policy-oriented instrument to simply working also with these companies.
Thank you very much. I don't know if there's any questions from the audience that they would like to ask Angela, since we have the privilege of having her here with us today. Otherwise, I have more. So I'll ask you. So and from the program management point of view, like, is there any support that you could have received from MA or JSs in Interreg that could have helped you further in this endeavor, or any suggestions from that end?
Yeah, I think, as I say, I think that, you know, in I3, it's about investments, but you actually really have to see it together. That, I mean, I don't know whether this is the case for all, you know, issues and topics, but I mean, the beauty of Interreg is, of course, also the regional, the policy oriented support. And, you know, we could have not survived if there is not also support from the regions for almost having sandboxes that to accept this is an innovative, sustainable use. We now have to sort of, you know, ensure we have to give the pathway to Baltic Muppets that this is possible. And yeah, and this is an ongoing exercise, you know, which kind of policies on the ground have to be adapted, etc., have to change in order to make these things happen. So I think it has to work really hand in hand, ideally.
Yes, definitely sounds like it. So anybody from the audience would like to ask a question, or everything is clear, no doubts, no further? Seems like it. Okay. So thanking you again, Angela, and thanking Kirill again for this very fruitful collaboration between Interact, Interreg World, and the I3 instrument. Looking forward to continuing next year as well. And good luck with the call for proposal as well, Kirill, because now it's on the applicants, but then it will come back to you at some stage with a lot of work, I'm sure.
For sure. Yeah.
And it's been great having you here today. And I think we can go now for a little comfort break for the rest of the participants. And oh, so there's a question. Zia, do you want to open your mic?
Yes, yes, sure. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Valeria. Just a question to Kirill. Why is I3 managed by ESMEA?
Well, this is the question I can answer very simply because the director of ESMEA was very clever enough to get it. I can't tell any other on this because I don't have any insights on that. So, you know, it goes well beyond my level to have further information on that. It was an agreement between the agency and DG Regio. So it was like this from the beginning. I don't know. I don't know further details on that.
Are there
it's a question of capacities.
And are there any synergies between I3 and the EIC?
Of course, because EIC is, I mean, the synergies. I would not going into very much of details on that because I'm not pretty much involved in EIC, so I don't know. What I know is that from time to time, EIC is and I3 is trying to get closer and find out the ways on how this synergy could be, because EIC is also putting on their innovation radars and everything the projects of I3. So they are doing this, but further steps, it's just ahead of us on what is going to happen, and basically it is done by other colleagues of mine. So I'm not very much involved on that, but I know that it is ongoing. So it's just one other part of ESMEA.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ziad, for your questions. Thank you, Kirill, for answering. Okay, so I think we can restart, continue the meeting at 11:30 after a little comfort break for all of us. Kirill, if you want to stay with us, feel free to, but I know you're also a busy person, so completely up to you. And I hope to see the majority of the participants still here in 15 minutes time. So see you in a bit.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay, I think then we can start up again. And this second part of the meeting, it's so we've lost our guest speakers. It was great to have them. I don't know if they're still listening in, but I think it was a very interesting addition to our meeting today. And we move on to our more policy thematic work with the intervention from DG Regio with Blagoveska Riser, our officer, who has been our officer this year, and very much appreciated her support throughout the work that we've been doing. And I will share the presentation because I have it in my own. Just one sec. Yes, here it is. Can you see it, Blaga?
Yes, thank you, Valeria. Thank you for the invitation. It was very interesting to listen to the colleagues from ISMA. I just want to reflect a little bit of what was presented, that there's a lot of similarities between I3 instrument and Interreg. We support many of the same things, but the biggest difference is that the Interreg programs are constrained by a geography with the physical borders, or that the partners in Interreg program share a common natural resource. When in I3 instrument, the partnerships are formed on different logic and interest, more common challenges with no constraint of geography. So this is the biggest difference. Otherwise, it's a lot of similarities, and it's good. Both are very otherwise, for those who doesn't know me, I work in DG Regio in the unit of D1, dealing with monitoring the implementation of transnational programs, outermost region as well, enlargement issues, and the EU macro-regional strategies. And today I will walk you through the implementation of the policy objective 1, which supports SMEs, innovation, research, competitiveness. It's the main entrance port. And then I will briefly present or comment how this is preserved in the new MMF proposals. So we can go the next slide. Yes, I wanted to start with some kind of a background why we do what we do. And as you know, innovation is the key determinant for long-term regional economic growth. And the Regional Innovation Scoreboard for 2025 confirms and highlights that there is a persistent and large regional disparities in innovation performance across EU regions, with the capital regions performing best. So what does it mean? The report also shows that between 2016 and 2021, the share of population living in the strong or leading innovation regions has increased from 17% to 84%, which means that the capital regions are privileged or benefit from concentrating talent, investments, and of course of stronger research and innovation ecosystems. Less developed regions, of course, are facing structural challenges in accessing the right skills, the research and innovation capacity, access to investments, investors, and of course, the current geopolitical situation is even worse. It's worsening the situation on the border regions bordering Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, which is very sad. So without targeting investment, these gaps will continue to increase. So that's why we have the European Regional Development Fund and Interreg, who is supporting cooperation across borders, across regions, to strengthen regional innovation ecosystems and create value change across borders. So the geographical closeness is an important dimension. So the next slide, if we can. So I wanted just to go very quickly through the legal basis of the policy objective 1, as it is defined in the regulation, ERDF regulation, for supporting more competitive and smart Europe. It is defined as a more competitive and smart Europe objective, promoting innovative and smart economic transformation, regional ICT connectivity as well, but it doesn't support the physical ICT infrastructure. So as you said, the four specific objective on the policy objective 1 shows the scope of what we can support. It's also innovative capacities, much of the same as the R3 instrument. But yeah, the skills, the digital connectivity, the competitiveness of SME, job creation in SMEs, also digitalization of services, of research organization, and so on. So we can go to the next slide. It's just a repetition. Yes, so what is important to know, what Interreg support on the policy objectives 1 is that we are not, it's very important for us that our instrument is complementary to all other EU directed supported programs, so I3. So we're not about excellence, but we are about catching up. It's about applied research, place-based research. It needs to be relevant for the geographical areas of the Interreg program. Of course, the Interreg programs in the current programming period can cooperate with partners outside the program geography of the program, if this is valuable for the achievement of the program goals. So there is no constraints who can be funded and with whom you can partner, but this is an exception. Usually the constraints is partnership within the defined Interreg program geography. And then you have that, because we are now about catching up, the priority should be on projects who support uptake, testing, development of new technology and solutions, diffusion of knowledge and technology, innovation or digitalization knowledge, skills, also linking regional research and innovation actors to industrial stakeholders from different member states who share common borders. Again, value change. So it's also very important to say that some of the sub-objective of the policy objective 1 it is mandatory for them to build on a smart specialization strategy or any other regional innovation strategy, because we don't want to see a successful project when the funding is over, that there is no something to take and build on the success of this project. So that's why we think that the smart specialization strategies needs to be, or any other investment strategy needs to be the building stones when we decide what to fund through Interreg. And again, in Interreg, we also pay specific attention to less developed regions, and we would like them to allow them to move towards high innovation performance. So this is a very important objective as well. And of course, we would like to identify, we can support projects who identify relevant bottlenecks for innovation, creation, and diffusion, and this can be a research project as well. So we can go to the next slide. So here I would like to make advertisement for the Commission Cohesion Open Data Platform. I don't know if you know it, but this is a tool where you can find a huge amount of information of how the cohesion funds are spent, either in a member state or through the different funds or Interreg. You can here I'm presenting generic picture of how all Interreg programs are planning to use the funds on the Interreg and the 7 policy objectives, but you can find the same information per Interreg program, and it's a very nice tool to plan to which code, to which program, to orient your efforts and what's already planned and used. Because what we can see here is that the all Interreg programs has planned to use 2.5 billion euro on policy objective 1. Yes, so we can go. I'm sorry. Was it a question? No. We can go further. So here is 4 times a year, DigiRegio receive feedback from all Interreg programs of how the implementation is going on, and you can see that the implementation already over 67% of the funds are spent, and the implementation of the Interreg program is progressing steadily, and it's accelerating since the beginning of 2022. All Interreg programs are now fully operational, and the managing authority are effectively selecting projects. As you see, 7.5 billion are already committed to projects. But the actual spending, of course, is a little bit less because it takes time. But it's going on the positive direction. So the next slide, please. Here we have a little bit more detailed presentation of from the report from the Interreg program. As you see, the most popular area for support under policy objective 1 is, of course, research and innovation, where we have 17, almost 80% of the Interreg programs using committed efforts to this priority, but the growth and competitiveness of SMEs is also on the 3rd place, if I can say that, where we the Interreg programs are planning to has committed already over 60% of their available funds. So what we see is that the project selection also is raising almost 53% year on year. Yeah, so high selection rates across most, we see that there is a high selection rates across all the policy objectives, indicating that the programs are not concentrating in a few areas, but are progressing broadly. So this is a very good thing, we think. So if we, next slide, please. This is another screenshot from the Cohesion Data Platform, and you can see under policy objective 1 how the funds are spent more more details, and you see the 7 direct area of support to SMEs. Both we can see the planned amount, like SME business development and internalization. It's 108 million euro planned by the Interreg programs. Already 55% of this amount is committed. Research and innovation activities, 153 million planned. More 103% committed already, and so on, so on. Maybe it's not so detailed. And then it's a lot of other activities who are not directly supporting the SMEs, but are important that they increase the capacity of the public sector to develop better services or be more react more effectively and efficiently to the needs of the SMEs. So we can traced all this activity from the Cohesion Data Platform. The next slide, please. Yes, and I'm almost at the end of my presentation. Most of you have definitely seen this picture. We see again that the national regional plans are the biggest budget envelope proposed by the Commission for the 28-34 period. Of course, the national regional plans portfolio is much bigger than today. It's not only about regional development, but it's agriculture, fishery, and some other funds to faster react on unpredicted events. But again, what we know that Interreg has its own envelope, budget envelope of 10.2, almost 3 billion euro. They're not divided yet through strands, this amount, but it's bigger. It's more than 2 billion euro more than what we have in the 21-27 programming period, which is very good. We will continue the proposal built on all the success, everything which is successful with Interreg, all the Interreg strands. We don't change the Interreg program geography unless the member states decide so. I would like so this will be a negotiation topic with the Commission. So the biggest changes which in this proposal when it concerns Interreg is the performance-based approach. So we will not, the Commission will not require that the programs report to us based on payments, but more on achieving of milestones and goals, which I understand it's a big change for everyone, also for the Commission, but that's why the Commission now has established a good cooperation with Interreg programs, and together with you we try to develop a good models how this could be understand and implement. And of course many of the member states has a experience from RRF, current RRF instrument, so yeah, it will be very much of the same knowledge applied here for the performance-based. And if we go down the next slide, please. So again, in the next MFF proposal, we have 8 Interreg specific objectives. Here I present the 5, which will be common for the whole national region and plan envelope. So it's both for fishery and for agriculture. These 5 will be, these 5 specific objectives will be relevant. So this is one of the simplification consequences of the proposal. What I see is this policy objective 1 here, Europe's sustainable prosperity across all regions, encompassed what's today's policy objective 1 and what is also policy objective 2. So it has these environmental aspects. It's in the same envelope in the 28-34 proposal, and it's much broader. Now you have new elements like tourism, transport, infrastructure can be support, water management, again, market-based funding options will be supporting and support to develop these kind of activities as well. And if we go to the next slide, this is only the Interreg specific objectives again. The first two are exactly the same as in the current programming period, and the new one is that we will have would like to support the regions bordering Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine, who are, per today experience much bigger challenges than the rest of the European regions. So this was everything from me, and I'm open for questions if you have.
Thank you, Blaga, very much for this overview of the execution and spending rate in policy objective 1. I think overall the policy objective is doing well compared to at least the other ones, we could say. We have programs seem to have a good rate of selection of projects, and the expenses also, the expenditure rate is increasing, is picking up. So we're glad to see that, and thank you also for the brief overview of how the new financial package will affect Interreg generally, but also the overview of the new specific objectives, which is not something that maybe everybody has seen so far. We discussed it at the knowledge fair in Dubrovnik, but I don't think a lot of the participants here were there with us a month ago. So thank you very much also for that, because all the programs are called to start really thinking about the new period. So it's very important to receive some updates. So I see Patricia's hand raised. Would you like to ask a question?
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation. It's very interesting, of course, and about the innovation aspect and thematic. I would like just a clarification. When you made your evaluation of Interreg projects in the field of innovation, okay, but I would like to know if about the amount of project in each Interreg, you have also an evaluation about the type of activities. For example, you know, for this kind in the field of innovation, it's necessary to have pilot actions, demonstration actions, so it costs a lot. And for an average financial amount per project, it's very important, because in Interreg program, we have not a lot of amount for a project. It's 1 million, no more, 2 million. It depends on the average also of partner. So it's very difficult, you know, to have demonstration activities and pilot action in an Interreg program in the field of innovation, due to the possibility of financial amount per project. So it's an experience, it's a return of experience in the field of the Interreg program. The second clarification maybe will concern the future of post-27 for the MFF 26 and 34. I would like, what do you intend by most agile? Because you made a focus about 3 criteria. The first one is simplification for beneficiaries. Okay, we understand. Results also, because the future approach will be more selected for the managing authority and for program based on the result approach. And most agile. What do you intend by most agile, please? Thank you very much.
As you know, Interreg is a shared management instrument. So it means that it's up to the member states, the programs, to select the objectives and the type of project. The Commission doesn't intervene in this. So it's up to you to decide what you would like to support, and if this is, I mean, it's not the point about being expensive. I mean, you can have as big project as a little project as you want. There is no constraints on the amount you can attribute to a project. But it's the effect and the value of the result of the project which is important here. But the Commission doesn't intervene in this. The good thing is that in the 2834 proposal, the Commission will intervene even less of how the programs are managed. So for us, it will be the Interreg plan. We will negotiate what we call the Interreg chapters, which is a summary of the priorities each Interreg programs are identifying as is essential for the development of the region, based on an analysis of what the challenges and opportunities of the regions are. So this is what we are going to negotiate with each Interreg program. The details will be left to the member states, the monitoring committee, to negotiate. So we will have even bigger freedom to decide what is best for you. For us, what is important is that each Interreg program address the biggest challenges or opportunities which gives most value for the money through the Interreg cooperation program. I don't know if I answer your questions, but
yeah.
And the simplification as we see it, I mean, it's not going to be simple in a way, because you have experienced and you have worked in almost one and the same way with Interreg for very many years. And now we are changing a little bit the concept of how the payments are, how we assess the project, and how we make transfer of how we fund the project. So the performance-based approach is the very new thing, which seems very simple on paper in modeling, but of course it demands a lot of thinking from everyone. So I don't think that this is a simple thing, but as some of my colleagues said, we would like you to succeed. So that's why now we cooperate very closely with all the Interreg Strengths program, of how to develop models which functions for everyone, how to understand reforms in an Interreg context. And it doesn't mean a reform in like a national reform in a particular sector. We talk about projects which make really a difference. This is a reform in the Interreg context, because one of the things which irritated me a lot in the past was that we supported a lot of 3D plays through Interreg. This is not going to be possible in the coming period. We really need to address challenges and opportunity. We support the transition and the growth of economical growth of the regions, or resolve for social challenges. So it will be much stronger focus on this. And the simplification is, this to answer is just that for many funds, we have the same objective, the same way of reporting. So it's a lot of the same things. Performance-based will be for all funds. It's another simplification that when we have a big envelope, which encompasses a different, like, let's say 16 funds, today 16 funds. It's easier to see when now we see that we have a regulation for every single fund, or for 52 programs. And when we see that the world is changing, we had the corona, we had a very big war going on in Europe, and we see that the member state doesn't manage to make to make use of this funding. They're staying on the account. and we cannot do anything with this. We have to wait that the program period, the 7 program period is closed before we can make use of this funding. The new proposal make it much easier for everyone to see if, okay, if the money are not used and get back to the Commission, we can put it where it matters most, when the need is biggest.
Thank you very much, Blaga, for your answer. And of course, as Interact, we are supporting this the process we're supporting programs in participating in this process of programming for the new period. So if there's any specific questions, you can of course send them to us, and we will try to address them. And there will be a lot of ongoing support between now and when it's needed. So thank you very much for this, for your intervention, and thank you very much for your support this past year. I am very sorry to see you leave us from the PO1 network, and but I do hope that we will be able to continue maybe working together on different things and in different locations. So it's been great getting to know you and working together with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Valeria. Likewise.
Thank you.
It's very sad.
Yes. So going to a bit to how our work plan has functioned this year, and how I'm feeling very lonely on the screen. Can somebody else join me, please? Yes, thank you, colleagues, for helping me out. So what work we've been doing this year and what we're planning to do for next year. I have very few slides, so it should be quite light and friendly for you. And then, of course, we're most interested in hearing from the audience what suggestions they have also for next year. So we're still, we can integrate our work plan. Okay, here it is. Sorry, it went back. Here it is. Can you see it? No, stop there. Yeah. Okay. And here we are. Okay, so 2025, it's actually been quite a busy year, which we started in January with our first online meeting. And this was, I'd only started a few months earlier, so I was still getting to know but the Interact system and all of the Interact programs. And we had a meeting to set the scene a bit on PO1 and to start exchanging about the difficulties that programs were facing, especially in project selection, and starting to share these overviews as well as some tips on communication. Then we had the opportunity to continue exchanging in Gorizia during the Interreg Go, so the Interreg annual event. And you can see a picture here from the panel, where we had a mixture of programs, both CBC, transnational, and next programs, and they're overviewing on how innovation is being financed by Interreg and the added value of Interreg in financing innovation. And we also,
sorry to interrupt, maybe I'm the only one, but I don't see the slides moving and you are not in presentation mode.
Okay, sorry. So I don't know where I am now then. Let me try this again. Sorry. Okay. Okay, I'll start again. Here it is. Let's see. It was working until now, so it better come back up. Sorry. Why is it working here but not there? Let me just close it. I'll reopen the file and see if it wants to collaborate with me now. Thank you for telling me, Bessie. Doesn't want to open it for some reason. I think it's had enough of this file. Okay. See. Okay. I need to find a way to open this. Arg. I'll get there soon enough. Okay, maybe. Can you see it now?
Yeah, it's still not in
we
presentation
can see
mode,
it,
but
yeah.
Is it now?
Oh, okay, now yes.
Okay, sorry. So this was the first webinar. This was Interreg with the panel, and then we also had a lovely study visit to the technology park in on the other side of the border from Gorica in Slovenia. And then we picked up a thread, started with the, the EU Green Week, that in June was, this year was focusing on circular economy. And circular economy, by its word, it shows that it also involves the private sector, involves SMEs. And there are a lot of projects that are funded by Interreg under PO1 that that work on this topic. And so with the other policy network of Greener Europe, we decided to start working together on this topic for to prepare some materials for Green Week. So some of your on the projects from Interreg from PO1 were showcased at Green Week at the stand that was organized by Interact. And then we also had a webinar in June to show the contribution of Interreg to the topic of circular economy, including projects from PO1. And we had two different projects, one from PO1, one from PO2, and we also had the point of view of some programs on this topic. And we moved on the topic of circular economy with our in-presence event in Salzburg in October. And this was hosted by the USALP presidency. And again, they had it in their agenda that they wanted to focus on circular economy. And so we decided to support them in this. And we had the opportunity of showcasing the methodologies, the outputs, and the results of 6 projects, 4 from the USALP region, and 2 that came from outside the region, namely from the Central Baltic and from Italy, France Maritime. And it was a great opportunity for them to kind of almost conduct a peer review of each other's projects, methodologies, and outputs, and creating a community of peers. We had some representatives of programs and CPs and members of the USALP as well. And then we have been working on some tools, some easy tools for the PO1 community to be able to use. And this I really have to thank Nebojsa for his support. And this was published in November, a very short fact sheet, it's 2 sides. You can download it from our website, and it is just a bird's eye view on the policy objective within Interreg. And I can give you, you can use it with your beneficiaries, or just if somebody needs clarification about what PO1 is, and it's like the start of the work also that we will be continuing to do. And December, of course, this is our final meeting for the year. And in the topic of circular economy, we also have to showcase that Interreg has been selected as a member of the new European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform, which is run by the European Economic and Social Council, hosted by them at least. And these are the other partners that will be there with us. We will be there in representation of the whole of Interreg. And it's hosted by both the policy, by myself as Policy Objective 1, and by Nicolas Garnier from Policy Objective 2 from Greener Europe. It will be a great opportunity to share, showcase, and disseminate programs and projects, events on this topic. So please do reach out to us if you're planning anything specific on circular economy between now and 2028, or at least the next year, because the platform has a an online space where we can showcase this. We can also exchange further on specific topics. But if you wanted to know where you can find all of this information, the answer, of course, is on our Interact.eu website. Inside the Synergies and Cooperation tab, you can pick Smarter Europe, a policy network. And here, by scrolling down, you will see the list of all the library items that we have produced, all of the recordings from different events, all of the presentations, the fact sheet, everything is there for you to use. And we also try to update the main page quite often to make sure that you know what we're working on and what are the next events that are coming up. And of course, we try to make this as useful as possible for you, who are the main users that we are trying to address. Apart from the website, we also have Teams channels and SharePoint. And I will ask you later if you knew about them and if you're using them, and if we can maybe make better use of it over the coming months. But firstly, I would like to start looking forward to next year. And well, the first difference you see is that I will be joined by two other colleagues, just instead of just being myself. Nebojsa Nikolic, who is already supporting me a lot on the communication side, but as a great innovator himself, I'm sure he will also bring a lot of great content to the community. And Guilherme Johnston from the Viborg office, from the Interact Viborg office, and who we've been working together this whole past year, but he will have the lead in a couple of the activities that we're planning for next year. So you'll also get to know him a lot better. And just briefly, or by points at least, these are the main ideas for our plan next year. So our main objective is always to offer continued support to programs who are implementing PO1. That is 56 programs out of 86, so there's quite a lot of you, different specific objectives, but there's a lot of you out there, and we try to offer tailored support as much as possible. And one topic that we've been asked to look into is supporting you as programs to manage disruptive innovation within PO1, i.e. the projects that are starting to tackle more innovative processes or tools that maybe you're not so well versed with, and we are trying to see how we can do that, whether it's going to be like through trainings or sharing experiences and so on and so forth. And then another one of the objectives of PO1 is the support to SMEs, and Guilherme will explain in a little while how we are planning to do that next year, and hopefully involving a lot of you in the process. And then the focus on communication. So I think I will leave the floor to Guilherme, if you would like to introduce a bit this activity that we're planning for next year.
Sure, and thank you very much, Valeria. And it's great to be working further with the network. So yeah, great to be connected with you. Also, as Valeria said, I'm Guilherme. I'm based in Denmark at the Interact office. And yeah, and the idea is really to think about and engage further with private sector, and particularly SMEs, as Valeria was saying. And I think it's even connects to everything that we heard here today about how to further develop, least developed regions, and how to make sure we develop further the innovation in these areas. And it's key to be engaging also with SMEs, private sector in general, but SMEs for that. And we know that some programs, they work quite a lot already with private sector, and others not so much. And there are some challenges with engagements from both sides, I would say, both from programs, but also from companies. And we know how important it is now to engage more with the private sector. So the idea for 2026 is really to try and develop some further activities that will really make it easier for both sides, I would say, for the private sector and also for programs to be working more in collaboration with the amongst themselves. So really want to have private sector as both beneficiaries from projects, but also as project partners in this year. So we are planning some activities for 2026, and of course we'll be glad to hear from you also if you have any other suggestions and thoughts on that. So the first thing we'd like to start with would be to develop this fact sheet, which will be a way of learning what are the current challenges of engaging with private sector and SMEs. And also we'd like to include already some good practices and elements from programs that are already quite advanced in the engagement with the private sector. So we will be developing this in the first part of the year. Then we also have this what we call like a webinar focusing on SME engagement and private sector. And the idea is also to share more expertise and knowledge amongst programs on that. And the final activity, which is quite something new that would like to test this year, is really to do sort of like a roadshow where programs can come and join us to visit other programs and projects that are already engaging with SMEs as both partners and beneficiaries. So the idea is really to, instead of hosting only an event somewhere in Europe, we'd really like to go on the ground and learn from projects and programs that are already implementing activities with private sector. So this should be very interesting. And of course, we'll be launching this early in the year, sort of like a call for interested programs to join. And we are planning this for now to be around mid-October. That's the idea. But of course, this is to be confirmed. But if you have any any questions or any suggestions also of places and areas to visit, we'll be glad to hear from you. I mean, the idea, of course, is to focus in one specific location, and so then we can all go there, learn from each other, and also host some workshops and some activities. So it's really a practical way of learning on the ground experience on that. So that's something we're one of the other activities that we will plan. You'll be hearing from us quite soon. We're glad to know that this has been approved, of course, already by our work plan. So now it's Valeria, myself, we start with the implementation of that. So these are the main activities for now, and of course happy to follow up with all of you on that.
Thank you, Guilherme, and thank you for proposing this activity and for also stepping up in the coordination. But also, we're interested in hearing from programs who would like to work more with SMEs, but also the ones who are already working with them and would like even to be part of hosts of this initiative for sure. And on the topic of communication, we have been working on communicating results by programs that have projects under the PO1 policy objective, but we're trying also to make it a bit more fun, aren't we, Nebo? Would you like to?
We'll try.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be very brief, and I have no slides. You're welcome. So I am completely new to this network. I didn't understand much of what was being said today, and I was writing privately in the chat asking Valeria questions about some terms I'm hearing about for the first time, and she was explaining stuff to me. But that's actually good news because I'm good at explaining things which are inexplicable. I am your communication officer. I am at your disposal. I train experts like you in communication skills and specifically how to explain difficult projects, how to do project storytelling, how to use plain language. And lately, for the past year and a half, maybe even 2 years now, I've been also working on how to use AI tools for communication specifically, but we're expanding on that topic as well. And next year, we will have this very big conference on the use of AI tools in Interreg. So not just for communication, but for program project management and finance management as well. And we will involve the relevant experts. So if those are the topics that are interesting to you, I'm at your disposal. I will be available for 3 main things to the network. Number 1, as Valeria said, my job will be to promote the network. What it does, I'll help you write those whimsical social media posts and graphic design of our content, video recordings, interviews, whatever you need in that regard. So promoting the network as a whole, what the network does within and outside of our bubble. I see that Valeria is already doing a great job reaching outside of the Interreg as a whole, but you know, you can always do more, and it will be my pleasure to help you in that regard. The second thing I can do is train you specifically, individually as experts. I have done this before. I've been part of the Greener Europe network in the past, where another expert was leading, and I was also communication support. And a couple of times we organized specifically for the network members a couple of short but very practical communication trainings. If that is something that's interesting to you, please reach out to Valeria and we'll figure something out. We'll plan something very nice for you. That's the second thing. And the last but not least is the AI. I am very interested in this topic, and within the event that Valeria has already mentioned on disruptive innovation, I think there's nothing more disruptive than the AI right now. And I would love to support that event as much as I can, and then pick up the results of that event and then transfer them to the big AI conference. So I might invite some of you to be speakers at this thing, to share your results, to share your concerns and questions as well in terms of how projects are using AI, both for project management and as a tool in smarter innovation, disruptive innovation topic. So 3 things in total. Overall, if that was too much, just remember me as the communication guy. If there's a communication topic, question, idea, I'm the person to reach out to, and I'll be happy to support you. So thank you for having me, and thank you for everything. I wish you all the best in the new year.
Thank you, Nebo. Thank you for joining the team. I'm super happy to have you on board. I saw a hand raised, but then it disappeared, so maybe there's no questions at the moment.
Yeah,
I did
scared them off.
Yeah, yes, we scared them off. But we're open to listening to you, whether it's now in the chat or via email. You know how to reach us. And I did have another slide that said any Christmas wishes from the community, but I'd rather not use a slide that would look, be visible on the screen. If there's anything that you think is really missing from the support that you're getting from Policy Objective 1, or if you'd like to suggest another topic or content that you would like for us to look at, please, you can raise your hand now, you can write it in the chat, you can send us an email, and we'll be very, very happy to take the topic on board and discuss this further with you. I think, Nebo, it's a good time to have the family picture. If everybody turns their screens on, and so that we can keep this for the future.
Let me try to change the view so that I can grab everyone.
Yep. And thank you, Bessiana, for picking up your Christmas jumper.
Large gallery.
It's always a team effort in Interact, isn't it?
Always, always.
Okay. I think I have most of us, but not everyone. I'll do a couple of tries. Okay, smile. That was take 1. Thank you. Let me just save this image somewhere. And we'll do a couple more. Let me try something together mode. Yeah, seats are filling in. I hope you see the same thing as I do, this theater setting with us sitting in the seats. Maybe not.
I think it's only you, Nebo, but
I think it's only me. So I think I see everyone who turned on their camera. So before I press print screen, last opportunity, last chance to join in. Okay, if not, get ready to say patatas, patatas. There. Now, I will share this and you tell me if you like it or not. If not, we take another one.
Thank you, Nebo. Thank you, everybody, for also joining us in this little bit of Christmassy fun. And so next on the list of things that I will put the evaluation link in the chat before I forget, before I get sidetracked to saying other things. Because as you know, we always have to have our events. Oh, that's lovely, Nebo. I can see the picture now. There you go. And if you can do us the favor of filling this this very short form in before you go off on your Christmas wanderings. And a reminder also that we have a lot of Interreg Academy courses starting next year, including a short course on capitalization, which is probably closer to my heart since we work on, in Valencia, we work a lot on capitalization. But there's plenty of them. I think they said something, but correct me if I'm wrong, colleagues. I think it's about 16 courses starting next year or something like this. So there's something for everybody, storytelling to performance-based, simplified costs, Interreg for newcomers, right, Guillermo? You're still on that?
Perfect. Yes. Interreg for beginners. Yeah.
Exactly. So
social media communication, self-paced course. There's going to be a confidence on camera certified training as well, which will start early February and it will finish end of February with an in-person training in Barcelona. So if you want to practice public speaking, confidence on camera, I'm leading on that one. You are more than welcome to join us, but keep in mind there is very few seats available. So first come, first served.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you for this marketing activity, Nebo. So it's been a pleasure working with you this year, and we look forward to more exchanges over the next one. Again, please, if you have specific requests or needs, please do reach out to us. You know where we are. We know how to reach us. And other than that, have a great holiday break and see you again in 2026. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Holidays.
Thank you.
Holidays. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thanks.